an auto shuttle operator. It's a startup. In US, it has tied up with IBM Watson. So with IBM Watson and IoT, these are driverless vehicles. We drive and also tell the passengers about restaurants nearby and also about the weather updates. And this is happening in several US cities. Another example, traffic management system. I gave an example of city of Nanjing. Then in US, Carnegie Mellon University spin-off, a startup from them, is doing a similar traffic management there in Pittsburgh. Logistics. Uber, way back in 2016, they had already done an driverless truck driven 120 miles carrying Heineken beer. I wish the beer was here. But they were carrying Heineken beer in a driverless truck for 120 miles from Fort Collins to Colorado in US. They did that way back, 6 years back. Railways. GE smart locomotives. GE has retrofitted smart locomotives at Deutsche Bahn in Germany, which has improved performance. Okay, it has improved braking performance, and it also monitors the temperature of the motor. This has reduced failure rates by a colossal 25%. So a lot of great things are already happening in a lot of places. I can carry on citing a lot of examples now. Let Marine, Maersk, Nippon, Rolls-Royce, in Hong Kong shipping, and Microsoft. Microsoft tied up with Hong Kong shipping, a company called OOCL, a 15 weeks pilot, and they saved $10 million a year for OOCL. And again, you'll notice no automotive company is Microsoft. Maersk, the example I was given, managed to reduce the operational cost by 40% by using light detection and ranging. Aviation. In aviation, you have got examples where a US company called Nautilus is already practicing on having a 90-ton capacity drones. Airbus is already using predictive maintenance. We'll be discussing about predictive maintenance. Our esteemed panels will be discussing about that. Predictive maintenance and data analytics is already being used by Airbus. Now taking a developing country's example, Rwanda. A US company called Zipline is helping the Rwandan government to use drones to supply blood. Because obviously they don't have road infrastructure, and a drone is any day better. Our very own Bangalore. Siemens Mobility is managing certain roads in Bangalore through an intelligent IoT-based traffic management system. And it detects the vehicles, it detects the traffic density, and gives real-time information onto that. And there are multi more examples which I'll not take any more time onto, but a lot of examples worldwide which things are happening. Now, over to our esteemed judges. I'll begin with the questions which have been put by you earlier. So the first question is to Mr. Akhilesh Srivastava. Okay, sorry, there's a misprint here, so I'll have to do certain changes. So I'll go to Mr. Sinha. What are the benefits of AI-powered smart mobility?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bakshi, for elaborating so many use cases. So precisely, question is AI-powered smart mobility. You know, mobility has got basically 5 elements to it. First is there is a vehicle, there is a driver, there is a path on which it is flying. After these 3, there are other vehicles, or both animate, it could be inanimate as well. Those elements are surrounding it, that is the 4th. And finally, there is a system of traffic. There is a system of movement that is guiding the entire movement. So practically, these are the 5 precise elements of mobility. And you can by yourself identify that how does lot of data understanding, lot of IoT applications, blockchain applications, and finally artificial intelligence could be helping you in each of these 5 distinct areas. To start with, let's say driver. The driver tends to be, he has to be alert. His knowledge has to be top class. He has to know that what position is that of the routes, which shortest route he should be following. Even for that matter, the customer or the person whom he is carrying, they should also be knowing the same thing. Let's see the vehicle. Mr. Bakshi rightly mentioned about the predictive maintenance. The vehicle must be able to give that alert to the driver that I am not in fine fettle. It's time for me to go back to my repair shop for maintenance. And why only that? Even at the manufacturing stage, it needs to have certain features embedded to it so that it is in sync with the artificial intelligence concepts, and it is able to take the entire mobility safe, affordable, accessible. Now finally the path, about the routes we mentioned, and the system of working. What system should be there? Could it be a regimented, standardized, fixed system of working the way we have today? Or should it be a kind of dynamic one, which in very few cities that has been experimented? Should not the entire signaling system keep on updating itself based on AI inputs? So these are the 5 areas in which of mobility in which you see that artificial intelligence has a great role to play. And artificial intelligence, along with the allied concepts, as they are the biggest kind of gift, they are the biggest disruption that has taken place during the time. It is also for us to ensure that we take assistance from them without a kind of falling into the trap of the negative externalities. If you see some of the international best colleges where these technologies are practiced well, for example, you see Berkeley, for example, then the class of their data analysis, that has got the maximum. I mean, if you are in the class, you can see people even sitting on the floor. And the range of students are from, say, 25-30 to 65-70. That is the range. In fact, half of the class appears to be older than the professor itself. So precisely this artificial intelligence is going to have lot say in the entire mobility paradigm. And as again I'll refer, Mr. Bakshi mentioned about the safety part of it. He mentioned about the number of accidents. In fact, in the just annexee next door, there is a Supreme Court committee that is going into all the details that how precisely the safety standards in mobility could be enhanced, they could be raised. And there also they are thinking that how exactly, I had opportunity to interact with them, that how precisely more and more technological interventions and this new generation technology could be brought in so that the movement becomes safer and the loss of life could be reduced to the bare minimum. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sudhakarn Srambikal, a question for you. How urban bigger cities can manage transportation with AI-powered solutions?
Thank you, sir. Before answering this question, because it would be difficult for me to answer this question, well, I can give the answer what Google says. There is an answer in the McKinsey report, everybody can read. Now, if I have to repeat the same, then I think I'll be wasting my time and your time as well, right? So I would throw some insight into what we are talking about today. In fact, I've been here for the last 2 days, and there were some wonderful insights given by various speakers, right from the chief guest. I was impressed really by some of them. I have to take their name. Professor Vigyan, he started with Alan Turing's paper, but he didn't mention what it was. So for the benefit of one and all, I'll tell he was talking about Alan Turing's morphogenesis. And then Dr. Charulata, she gave her insight yesterday. It was a very powerful insight, and then followed up. We had some wonderful conversation in the evening, followed up by some WhatsApp chat late in the night. Today when I came in the morning, Suraj Sharma, I must thank him for having organized such a wonderful show, thought-provoking show. And he ended up with a philosophical question as to what would happen if I were able to transform the memory from my body into another piece of metal. Would it be me? This was a question that I grappled for almost 20-25 years, and I got an answer 3 to 4 years back. But I'm not here to discuss that because it'll take a lot of time. But nevertheless, these are thought-provoking questions. He has lit questions in each of these minds. The only, if you ask me what my complaint is, these vacant seats. These vacant seats should have filled much more minds. We should have lit much more minds and taken this country forward. I come from a defense background. I'm a retired wing commander. I served in the Indian Air Force for over 2 decades. So my idea of what we are discussing here comes from there. Because we are not discussing about how intelligence plays a role in military affairs, in war, right? So the previous panel talked about legalities. Can we control it? Yesterday, Dr. Charulata talked about the framework to control AI. Because unless and until we don't get into the depth of what we are talking about, we cannot really find the real answers. And that's very important. And I've been delivering these talks for the last 5 to 6 years at various places. And then I realized our understanding of artificial intelligence is not the way it is supposed to be. In a sense, this country has been waylaid into believing a certain idea of artificial intelligence, which actually it is not. I will not delve much into this. These talks are available on my YouTube channel. You can see my first name, and it's an 18-minute talk, so you will understand what it is talking about. But I will quickly tell you a 2-minute snapshot of why I disagree with this term, artificial intelligence, at all. Because what is being sold in this country in the name of artificial intelligence by 99% of startups is nothing to do with intelligence at all. And you will be surprised to know why I'm saying so. I'll give you the answers also right here. When the term artificial intelligence was coined, it was coined in 1956 by John McCarthy. The first chips were not invented by then. The first form of computers were not known. It was just an idea. It was an idea of a science and engineering discipline wherein it was believed that machines can imitate human intelligence. That was just an idea. But the very problem with this term artificial intelligence, it's an oxymoron. It's like deafening silence. If I were to pass a compliment to you that your intelligence is very artificial, how kindly would you receive it? I'm pretty sure you would look at me as an arrogant fellow. It's like telling you a beautiful woman saying that you're beautiful is very artificial, right? Intelligence can never be artificial. Intelligence has to be real. It only then makes sense. So now, why is the problem with, in fact, most of the modern researchers or the great researchers who have been ever since this term was coined don't disagree with this term, don't agree with this term at all whatsoever. Now, what is the problem? See, intelligence fundamentally operates at 3 levels. Intelligence by comparison, intelligence by computation, and intelligence by cognition. What we're talking about artificial intelligence and the frameworks delivered by machine learning and deep learning don't offer cognition whatsoever. We are made to believe, yes, there are examples of cognition, but that has got nothing to do with the kind of artificial intelligence that we are talking about. They are actually doing a different type of research. In fact, Google has a name for it. I will give you those examples. And you'll have to understand, we are talking about mobility here. So when you're going to buy a car, please open the bonnet and see what is under the hood. First, look at what the engine is. First, understand, is it an engine powering that car or other two small donkeys making it crawl and move? Are we being sold donkeys for nothing? That's the question that we need to ask. So when I told that intelligent operator at 3 level, comparison, computation, and cognition, most of our activities, 99% of our activities work at the realm of comparison and computation. Now, to give you an example, like you know my face today. Tomorrow you see me, you will be able to recognize me. You don't have to apply great intelligence. It's from your memory, you retrieve it. And then you produce it and you know, hey, this guy is this guy and he said this and this is what this guy is all about, right? You have your own idea. And that comes out of your memory. Take, for example, a dog. There are dogs and there are smart dogs and there are intelligent dogs. And what does an intelligent dog do? You just make it sniff a smell, and then if it finds the same smell, it will bark back. And you will say, good boy, intelligent dog. Is that dog intelligent? So that is intelligence by comparison, because it retrieves that idea, the digital footprint of smell that it is stored in its mind has been retrieved back, compared, and then it gives a response. So that's called intelligence by comparison. And what is intelligence by computation? You need understanding of mathematical processes, formulae. For example, I ask you what is multiplication of a number A by number B. If you know the multiplication table of one of the numbers, you will be able to say, what is 25 by 25? 625, because you know the multiplication table of that. You can't retrieve that by memory. So next time when I ask what is 25 by 342, you again compute it and then you come at that result. So that's called intelligence by computation. Now what is delivered in an ML framework is you take the equation y equal to mx plus c, and then you have, they will always say that we need a data set to train my AI. So you give 10x and 10y and say you train my data set, this is my training data set. Actually what they do is they find the constants m and c for the data set that you gave, and next time onwards, they predict y for every x because they know m and c. I hope you understood what I'm saying. And this is the artificial intelligence that is being sold to you. So what is being sold to you is curve fitting. You know, I told you a very simple y equal to mx plus c. Now the problem is you increase the degree of the polynomial. Ax squared, b, bx, third degree, fourth degree, fifth degree, go into Gaussian distribution and stuff like that. And what worse? All this available in GitHub. So most of them who call themselves as AI practitioners are GitHub downloaders. They tune the constants and they sell it to you. And when you talk about smart cities, and when we talk about AI in agriculture, when we talk about anything else, it's retuning of these frameworks. These are already there, made by some guy who's already done a PhD. So 99% of these guys who work, they don't do anything beyond this. And this is not intelligence. This is not human intelligence. This is not what we are. But does that mean that digital intelligence doesn't exist? It exists. It exists in a different form. 3 years back, when I was in the Air Force, I incidentally was one of the members who brought the AI vertical up, because that was a very powerful organization which was technologically enabled much ahead of time than any organization. That much I can tell with authority in this forum. I took a list of all research that is carried out in India across all universities, IITs and otherwise, on a discipline called genetic algorithm. And the result that I found was not satisfactory. I wouldn't want to disclose the numbers here, right? But at the same time, when you go to a place like Europe, you look at big conglomerates like the Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they all are involved in this work. And the interesting thing that I have to tell you is that the frameworks that you're downloading from GitHub, when it is connected to the internet, the tuning that you do, the learning that your frameworks do, actually enable them to make their frameworks better. In fact, Google has recently, a year back, they came up with a concept called AutoML0. That's a genetic algorithm process, but that's not available for public consumption just like that. There is a company called Dreamcatcher. It designed an aerial platform through a genetic algorithm process. And guess what happened? The skull of that design resembled that of an albatross. You know, it's an eagle, it's a variation of an eagle. And that's the best flying machine known to nature. And that's how it designed its aerial platform. So it's not that it is not available, but we don't know. We are being waylaid. See, it is kind of a treasure hunt that the whole world is involved in. We are all behind intelligence. The one who solves that and reaches there first is going to deny the rest the ability to do so. That is going to be the power of this technology, right? And this is going to be the next biggest weapon of mass destruction. So when the previous panelists talked about the legalities of it and we need to form rules and laws, let me tell you that's not going to happen. And why do I say this so convincingly? Because you can talk about not implementing AI in transportation, not implementing in education, healthcare, but not in military. If that be the case, we would have stopped the nuclear weapons. If a country like China develops an unmanned combat aerial vehicle, our pilots will be fodder for their guns. Air superiority is all about warfare today. So if you cannot safeguard your sovereignty and integrity, there will be no cities, let alone be smart cities. There will be nothing called education. You know what is happening in Afghanistan. So for your survival, it is very important that we develop this technology indigenously. We cannot get this technology commercially off the shelf from a Google or from America or Europe. It's like asking a Farang to come and be here. Suppose if that technology comes and be part of a technology, a digital intelligence technology from Massachusetts comes to Bangalore. Please understand, like what was been already told, the Alexas and the Siris are 24/7 listening you. So those technologies will not only listen, it will start levying tax on you. This is what happened during the vaccination program. Pfizer developed its vaccines, and when it went to Brazil and Argentina, they said that you will have to put your sovereign assets to guarantee, and no lawsuits have to be filed. You can all check in the internet. And they started blackmailing those Latin American countries. Imagine if India had not brought in 2 vaccines. They would have said that the Prime Minister have to step down. The policies have to be in accordance, then only we'll give you the vaccines. If that is the mindset of these people for something like a vaccine, imagine having hold of a technology that will change the future of mankind. So that is the importance. So I had to set this backbone before addressing this question. How are our cities going to be managed? The whole concept of, what this is all about has been covered in my YouTube channel, so you can check there, because in the interest of time, we don't have much of time and I don't want to diverse much. So I leave these questions to you. It is, my whole idea was to not disagree with you or be a killjoy of sorts, but at the same time, ignite young minds to ask why. Am I on the right path? If I am on the right path, is it on me, or this audience, to compel the government as well as take it on us to be the foot soldiers to enable intelligence, digital intelligence for the next generation, primarily for our survival as a nation and country in the times to come? So these are questions that I want to give you. So now coming to about, now that you've known that there is something called as genetic algorithm, let me tell you quickly before answering this question. Intelligence is domain agnostic. And why is it so? Because I am no different from you. I have the same amount of blood. I have the same brain size. It is just that I have an expertise over a certain subject. But when it comes to the digital regime, the moment you expose that particular component to a different set of experience, and I hate to call it data, right? Data means nothing. Data is unidimensional. A multidimensional data set is what an intelligent framework requires. And that's what we call as experience. For example, Dhoni. When you know that he captains and he plays in a certain way, you say that he has an experience.
Srambikal, sorry, we'll have to cut.
Yeah, I'll quickly cut. So Experience is what matters. So when it comes to how our cities are going to change in the realm of digital intelligence, we'll have less crimes. Everything else will be more optimized. We will be more frugal, and the compliance, the legal compliance for everything will be measured by the inch, which means there is no scope for anybody to say, I didn't do this. You do this, this is what is the music, and the law will be catching with you much faster than what we have been experiencing so far. Thank you one and all. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Mr. Srambikal. Very, very insightful, very thoughtful. Mr. Srivastava, there are a set of questions for you. So, for one is, I'll suggest, you can take these questions in the second part of your discussion, but first you should tell more, because this question straight away goes into technology, so I don't want you to start there.
Yeah.
So, AI and mobility applications and methods like ANN, GA, fuzzy logic models are making their way into transport mobility for rapid improvement. How will these methods simplify the rapid pace of development? So, before this, I'll request you to speak additional and then come to this question.
Perfectly. Thank you, Mr. Bakshi, for setting the tone, and thank you, Mr. Sudhendu, who gave what are the mobility aspect we look into where AI can help, and a wonderful talk by Mr. Sudhakarn. What is AI basically? And he gave a very exhaustive way. What we are doing is not actually AI. Probably he was hinting towards general AI, which is a futuristic, maybe coming by 2050 or 60. If I'm not mistaken, he may correct it further. But let's come from the space to the ground earth, where we are, the topic which we are discussing as of now. With whatever technology we have, let's call it artificial intelligence, whether it is actually artificial intelligence or not, but how these applications can be utilized right now to solve the mobility problem, to solve the problem of traffic congestions, to use that time which we waste in the traffic jams or unpredictability of the mobility for a productive use. So let's, I will be more grounding on that, because the question also pertains to that. In the last few years, there has been a law that every 2 years the data size used to be double. But now, last couple of years has changed this phenomena. In last 2 years, we saw that data multiplied by 4 times. So now that Moore's law requires revision. More data sets are coming, and that too COVID has, it further accelerated it. So the more number of data you can train your machines, let's call that artificial, disagreeing with Mr. Sudhakarn right now. We can debate it separately, what is it, but let's say this is the artificial intelligence as of now. And how this machine, when they are given a data set to learn, how they are mimicking the human, how they are mimicking barring cognizance, rest of the things they are doing, and how they can be helpful, which are more applications which can be used for solving the problem of mobility. So we are having enough data. The biggest problem in the mobility which we face as of now is non-predicting of human behavior. We can train any model, we can make any model with a set of data, and then we can predict. It's a kind of regression only, but we can at least model and simulate and find out what's going to happen next. But unfortunately, in transportation sector or in mobility, we cannot predict exactly whether I'm going to some place or not, whether which mode of transportation I'm going to use. The variability is tremendous. Those variabilities cannot be put into an algorithm, and which can be driven by a human, and we can predict to solve these problems of how, let's say we are making highways. When I was working in NITI, we were constructing highways. By the time you construct the highway, the predicted model says that this much will be the traffic. By the time you complete it, the traffic has already gone much more than that. But at some of the highways, it never reached even the predictions which was made. So there are some other factors which is humanly we are not possible to identify. Here, the so-called AI as of now can help. It can predict you, it can tell you with more number of parameters, the variables, how we can solve this problem. There are many algorithms we can discuss as a part of my questions in some details, but let's say broadly we use the artificial intelligence in three things in the mobility sector. First, to plan the infrastructure of transportation. For example, the infrastructure of transportation means when we are making the highways, we are making the metros, railways, or air traffic, anything which we are constructing, are they properly planned? Have they calculated, taken all the parameters which leads to, because many other parameters like a lot of towns comes in around the highways, and that was probably not predicted. Now we started predicting, NHI started taking that also into consideration. But the machine can, the AI algorithm as of now, they can do it. They can predict this model in a better way. Second thing is to utilize the existing mobility solutions in a best way, in a more productive way, in a more efficient way, because as Mr. Bakshi was saying, the mobility is one of the so you can say most a factor which is affecting humanity at the most. It is consuming, producing a lot of greenhouse effects. It is killing the productivity of people, because the moment you spend a lot of time into a traffic jam, say 1.5 hours, your productivity goes down by at least 60-62%. A number of research has been done on that. The person reaches to the office in an exhausted way. He doesn't start the productive work immediately. He takes some coffee, and then probably 2-3 hours are lost. So all these things can be mapped. Better productivity can be. So here artificial intelligence can model it. It can predict it. It can tell you different routes, optimize it. And third use is the autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles and the road safety. The autonomous vehicles is a buzzword of now. People say driverless cars or the driverless vehicles are going to be the autonomous. It may be, it may not be. There are much more than this. But let's say the autonomous vehicles are the vehicles which are connected to each other. So that the brakes, the safety features are involved, the vehicles are communicating to each other. These things can resolve the road safety problem. Unfortunately, in India, rightly said by Mr. Bakshi, that around 150,000 deaths take place every year, and that's the official figure available on the website of MORT. I'm sure the unofficial figures may be many times more than this. The plight of people who die in a road accident is unbearable. The young, mostly 90% of the people who are dying in the road accidents are between 18 to 55 or 56 years of age, the working group. Most of them are sole breadwinner for their families. So it's a pathetic condition. A lot of things can be done. Here AI can, of course, and as Mr. Sudhendu was saying, the committee looking into the road safety made by the Honorable Supreme Court is also imbibing, stressing that we should use latest technologies to control the road safety, improve the road safety, control the accidents. So these are the certain direct applications of so-called, whatever available artificial intelligent applications we have. This applications which, coming to the next question, was I will be clubbing it together. The applications which are available as of now is the normal ANN, the artificial neural network, which is one of the basic applications. It contains now many of the things like CNN, the convolution network, neural network. It contains the RNN. So I'm not going to those deeper details, but when these CNN and these applications are put together, they are known as deep learning modules of artificial intelligence. For example, CNN is very good in reading the images coming from the video feeds and all. So it's very useful in ITS applications, intelligent traffic solutions, where using the camera, speed can be detected, or you can accordingly manage your traffic lights in smart cities, giving a see-through passage to the people. So that's the one way of using is the artificial intelligence application, CNN. Or neural network. Another applications which is more useful for the second cause, which I was saying, the use the existing infrastructure, mobility in the best way, is your GA. What Mr. Sudhakarn was saying, the general, the genetic algorithm. The way genetic algorithm has, the way human has evolved, or the biological process of evolution, the survival of the fittest, this is how the application is trained, the models are trained, and the best trained application gives you the desired result. So for example, I will give a layman example. If you create let's say there is a point A to point B, there is a route which is very congested. The moment you create another route through via C, you will find majority of people will move towards that if it is cheaper, if it is saving the time. If these two variables, for example, meets, and what will happen, the alternate route will become now congested than the previous one. So it's not going to solve the problem. More and more inputs will come clogging that. So, but that's not the fittest solution. You created, invested money, you created another infrastructure, but that didn't solve the problem. You might have seen a number of bypasses are made. They become clogged. They become more congested than the existing system itself, existing roads. So here the GE applications can model it. They can give you the best fit model which can be a route or mobility alternative which will be fitting to that. Second is the other applications are your, we call it SA, the simulation of, like when we make the metals annealing process. The same way the application understand, they learn, and then they create a alternate route. Other applications are ant colony optimization. There is again algorithm based where or a bee colony optimizer, where you must have seen the ants walking in a group. They got a very set pattern. If you put some obstruction, they will immediately change the route and follow that obstruction. So this is what, and similarly the bees, they are, they look like you're just looking at the honeybee and thinking it's a simple bee, but they got certain set applications and they follow exactly those patterns. These algorithms helps to train the AI applications better, and these applications can be good for the autonomous vehicle or making a models where the variables are unpredictable. And lastly, if we can use all these applications and the artificial intelligence, probably will be making our mobility better. It may scale up to the mass. It can be, we can save a lot of money. What he was saying that around 20% is the logistic cost. Fortunately, in India it is around 13%, but it has to come to single digit. FASTag, which I was implementing from NHAI, it has been a success. This has brought this figure from 17 to 13% as of now. But still more thing has to be done. And I find the artificial intelligence has a good road, a good use case in mobility, much better than in any other field. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Srivastava.
Thanks.
Now, Samriddhi, how much time do we have? Can we take audience questions, or we have 10 minutes? Okay. Then this will be for you, Mr. Sinha. How does data generated from the devices installed in the vehicles through AI technologies help in vehicular movement related to intelligent traffic management system and intelligent public transport system and intelligent safety management system?
So precisely what the issue relates to a kind of mobility plan. You see, in the urban areas especially, the fundamental problem is not that of non-availability of different transport modes. They are available. Even in certain cities, we find that the end mile connectivity is also there. But yes, despite all that, things do not move seamlessly. So as a policy, because I come from NITI Aayog, and that is precisely in the area of policy making. So our understanding is that it is precisely what we call lack of synchronization. That is what is causing problem. Precisely that means that when you are starting from your home to the workplace or the either way back, every minute or every movement should be an ahead movement. It should not be a kind of on the same point or even going backward. So precisely that is the idea of how to synchronize, how to orchestrate different transport modes, different routes, different, all other interventions that are associated with mobility, so that the movement becomes easy. Movement is always on an onward pace. Precisely this is the area where big data comes to have its role. For example, if data set is available to a driver, then he knows which lane he should be maintaining, what should be the distance also in of the vehicle that he should be maintaining. If it is available, then he is aware that where exactly, when exactly he should be parking his vehicle on an emergency park, on an emergency parking on a side road where he should be taking a kind of he could take a rest for that matter. And of course, the cross traffic and the blind spots could also be monitored even in the urban landscape, urban areas, through these data sets. So precisely if I were to identify 2 or 3 positive outcomes that the big data can bring about in the mobility, precisely they will be, number 1 is safety, other than of course orchestration and synchronization that I mentioned. 1 is the safety, second is the cost reduction, cost to everything, including the vehicle, including the cost of operation, everything. That is the cost. And third is of course improving the delivery of the service. So improving the standards of the delivery of service, all these things can be taken care of once that big data is available. Precisely that is how artificial intelligence goes into assistance. The data is voluminous. We may not be able to process it, number 1. Number 2, we may not be able to draw very intelligent conclusions out of it. And number 3, we do not be sure of how exactly it should be guiding us ahead. And precisely if all these 3 things could be done by a machine, but through a source other than ours, that would be a big help to us to take decisions. Thank you.
So may I add one
Sure.
point to here? What Sir was saying, we developed an application, it's in pilot stage, which is a face recognition AI-based application for the road safety. We demonstrated, piloted it on some 1,000 drivers. There is a mobile app, keeps on looking, Humsafar. It looks at the eyes of the driver, and the moment he feels drowsy, now the algorithm has become so smart that it picks immediately, which is humanly not possible, and gives the buzzer. Yes, so you rightly said, Humsafar, it gives the buzzer. We change it, we brought an emotional connect to it, that the buzzer is replaced with his family voice, his kids or his wife or parents, "Arey tum so rahe ho, ud jao," and whatever vernacular language he uses. And that yielded a fantastic result. The drivers are always alert. They are thanking that. So these are the direct application use of artificial intelligence in the road safety. Similarly, your green corridors, which are carrying the organ transplantation, like in Hyderabad, there is a corridor, green corridor created in Gandhinagar. The moment the vehicle which is carrying, say, heart or something which has to be brought to the patient within some 30-40 minutes, then all the traffic lights should be green. That vehicle should be given through and through passage from point A to that place where it is going to deliver. This is being done through, again, using, it's not exactly AI, but there is the adopted traffic control system, primarily based on the principles of this only. But it's providing through and through passage, and it is tracking also. It is telling the driver also that, yeah, you are lagging, you should increase the speed. So that you can reach in next few minutes. So these are the direct applications which are helping the mobility. So I mean, I wanted to add these things. Yeah, anything else?
And in railways also, these ABB locomotives that were inducted into India, what they call WAJ-9, the first of the class locomotives, they were equipped with governors. So there was a system where they could identify that around 3 o'clock early in the morning, that is the time when drivers feel most sleepy. So it is 3 to 4 kind of thing. So every, say, 3 to 4 minutes, there will be a beeping sound. And there's a kind of snooze button. So you have to operate it with your legs so that movement is also there, and it will sense it. So if you have missed it by, say, 3 into 3 into 3, 9 minutes, then the application of brake starts automatically. If it is more so, then in more difficult sections, what they did was that if the driver is not able to react to the snooze or to the governor, then immediately the OHE, the overhead equipment that is supplying the electricity, it will conk off. It will just die down so that the vehicle stops immediately. So it always fails on the safer side. Thank you.
One more application, I'll just, I mean, the audience are interested to know the drone applications. Recently, we were planning to do a pilot in Uttarakhand. It's a hilly state. A lot of landslides are taking place in this year itself. On 400 routes or the places it has already taken place. So with the discussion with the government of Uttarakhand, monitored by Chief Secretary Uttarakhand himself, the drone are taking a video, making the picture of the particular stretch. The now artificial intelligence has learned these images. It watches the cracks or the bulging in the soil, and it predicts that this particular piece of land or this place is going to for a landslide maybe in next day or in a day or two, with approximately 78 to 79% of precision. That's a tremendous help, because you must have seen a lot of vehicles got now people lost to the life and the property because of sudden landslide. The road was closed. So if you know it, at least though alerts can be given to people not to move, because there is the AI based or the drone or the technology based solutions are offering. So there are plenty of use of artificial intelligence and in the mobility sector to make our lives easy.
Thank you so much. So very, very insightful, and it was very interesting to know that we have so many Indian examples, because you see, we hear about the rest of the world and we always wonder, why is there a paucity of examples in India? I think it's more to do with we don't advertise it enough. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Sinha, Mr. Srivastava, and Mr. Srambikal. Thank you so much. So, okay, I'll prefer the first name then. Sudhakarn, Akhilesh, and Sudhendu. So
yeah,
thank you so much. I think we have time for one question, one audience question max. 1 second, I'll just seek the permission of Samriddhi. Samriddhi, one audience question we can take, or no, we don't have time?
We really are out of time. Maybe over lunch, we have another presentation.
Okay, so sorry, maybe over lunch. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Can we have a round of applause for all of these gentlemen here for sharing with us their insights? And we sincerely apologize. We are running behind schedule, and we have another presentation now before lunch. So I'm sure you can catch hold of the speaker that you'd like to ask your question and maybe take it one-on-one. So just before we wrap up officially, I'm going to request you once again, Mr. Raj Sharma, to give away the mementos and the certificate, the plant certificate basically, which says that a plant in your name has been adopted by ICRA, and this is a certificate for that. To Mr. Akhilesh Srivastava first, who is from the World Economic Forum. Thank you, sir, for joining us this afternoon, sharing with us your thoughts. One to Shri Sudhendu Sinha, the Honorable Advisor from NITI Aayog. We thank you for sparing some of your most valuable time and joining us this afternoon. A memento and certificate to Mr. Sudhakarn, Srambikal.
Very different perspective you have. We must have multiple. I wanted to give something which is not in Google.
And last but not the least, Mr. Sanjiv Bakshi from SAP Labs. A wonderful job there at moderation. Thank you for so flawlessly conducting the entire session.
Thank you.
And we hope our audiences enjoyed this session on the road to artificial intelligence in mobility. Request you gentlemen to stay back for a group photograph.
Yeah, sure.
And ladies and gentlemen, in the meanwhile, let me tell you that our next presentation is on how AI is making transport safer, cleaner, and more reliable. And in fact, the efficient and new technology opportunities and challenges. And we have with us Mr. Aniket, who is Associate Director International Sales with NIF. And I'd like to invite you, Mr. Aniket from NIF, to make your presentation now, post which we'll be breaking for lunch. And we have a few more interesting sessions coming up post-lunch on the latest wave of AI startups in India and the ecosystem, what is the ICRA action plan, and that will be followed by the award ceremony, so do stay back with us. We are going to start the award ceremony at 5 sharp, and we are expecting the Honorable Minister of State, Independent Charge of Statistics and Program Implementation, and he's also the Minister of State for Planning and Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Mr. Rao Inderjeet Singh, who will be, in fact, presiding over the award ceremony. We are also expecting Mr. Rajesh Kumar Pathak, the Honorable Secretary, Technology Development Board with the Department of Science and Technology. So a power-packed award ceremony in the evening from 5 to 6:30, and we hope that all of you can stay with us, join us for this award ceremony at 5. So before that, quickly, I'll once again request Mr. Aniket to now make his presentation.